Hey guys, it's Danny. Today we are going to take care of the rupicolous Laelias as promised. We are actually going to start a little long-term experiment. First, a little bit of a recap for those of you who are new or who missed my initial video on these orchids. These are rupicolous Laelias. They are rock dwellers. In their natural habitat, most of the times you will find them growing on rocks and not on trees. And in cultivation, they have quite the bad reputation of being slightly fussy and also doing much better in a rocky type of medium, pretty much an organic medium, rather than the traditional organic medium formed by bark, moss, and other organic materials typically used in cultivation. Now, I'll share with you down below my initial video when I received these orchids. I'll put it in the description and also on an info card. I was telling you that first I will actually try a sort of inorganic rocky type of medium. And due to my environment, I opted for some lava rock combined with good old Ceramis. Do you guys remember Ceramis? This was a long time ago. It's a clay medium, not really like leca, much more absorbent, which acts pretty much like pieces of terracotta pot, if you will. I used this medium for a couple of years and it ended up not working all that great in my environment. It just dries out way too fast. And well, really, my experience has been the same with the Laelias as well. The medium just doesn't stay as moist as I would like it to, but that's not the major problem. The major problem is that when it's dry, it starts to affect the roots. I'm hoping you can see the spots that the roots have. I was never quite able to determine that this is caused by dryness, but since the medium is inert, it doesn't really change parameters, doesn't leach out stuff, it has been boiled, soaked, washed a million times by now, really. I cannot really pinpoint it to anything else, not even accumulation of salts, because even if I use my reverse osmosis water without any type of fertilizer, calcium, magnesium, whatever tap water might contain, I still get the same result when theoretically there is no salt buildup. Anyway, shall not dwell on the subject anymore, because I did talk about this medium so much in the past. It's not a bad medium, it just doesn't really go together with my environment all that well. Kind of like leca. But it's still more water absorbent and retentive than just rocks, just lava rock or other river rocks. So that's why I used it. I decided to give it another go, and I'm not super happy about it. I don't really like all of these spots on the roots. I've had them before, and even though some of these orchids might actually be pretty okay with it, some of them don't really have many roots, or any root at all, actually. This one just started to root. You can see I put it on a bed of sphagnum moss. Well, Ceramis and leca, since we're on the subject, are not the best media to promote roots, because when they're dry, they can actually damage the growing root tip. In my environment and with the brands that I find available, I'm sure that it's not the story for everybody. So that brings me to today's video. I need to do something about this medium because I don't like it. There are a few of these Laelias you will see which are not really tolerating this medium all that well because they were rather struggling or suffering from root loss when I received them. So what I plan on doing today is switching to two different types of medium and compare results in these two types of medium. First, and I already potted one just to see how to go about it, I will try a combination of river rocks with lava rock and a little bit of sphagnum moss. You cannot really see the sphagnum moss because it's in the lower layers. I will still add a top layer of rocks just to illuminate those algae deposits. And this is a sort of following the rules, but not really type of medium. As I was saying, there are many articles saying that these orchids do so much better in rocks than in traditional medium. Half of these orchids will be in a medium of rock and a little bit of moss, and half of them will be in my traditional bark and sphagnum moss medium. And what I intend to do is follow these orchids in their evolution, and at the end try to see if there is a visible and clear difference between how half of them grew and performed compared to the other half. Because really honestly, other than a difference in parameters, I don't see why these orchids should do better in rocks than in bark. The only thing I'm thinking about is pH. So maybe these orchids are more sensitive to lower pH levels than Cattleyas, Phalaenopsis, and other orchids we grow. But what exactly is this pH limit, and can we actually avoid it? Is the pH the culprit that makes these orchids not like organic media? You know, all of these questions that I have, I want to see if I can answer them. So, long story short, let's get to the unpotting, potting up, and the experiment itself. Okay, so let's start with the rocky medium. What I'm using are some river rocks that are for decorative purposes. I purchased them from a home improvement store. They are inert, they don't increase pH or alter water parameters to such extent that they're not suited for orchids. And also, they are glossy and polished, and overall, they're not physically damaging to the root system. None of these rocks are actually abrasive in any way, but I will be mixing them up with a little bit of lava rock, which is slightly abrasive, but not to the extent of actually being super damaging to the roots. I will not use it as a top layer though. I want the new roots to have a safe medium at the top, but the reason why I want to still use it is because it actually contains iron, or in theory it does. And one thing these orchids encounter in their natural habitat are iron-rich rocks. So will it help? I don't know. But I do have a lot of lava rock at my disposal, so I will be mixing a few of these pebbles in as well. Also, sphagnum moss, and you'll find more information about the brands I use and where to get them in the description as always. So let's go ahead and unpot this orchid. It did not have enough time to attach to anything other than a few pebbles. I will be leaving on the lava rock, but not the ceramis. And as you can see, I am pretty much in luck. I don't have a lot of ceramis pieces to remove. I might not even remove these. Let's see how easy. Oh, it's actually really easy to remove them. One good thing about ceramis is that it's actually easy to remove from the root since it is so incredibly porous. But I think you can see some of these more fine roots, if I can get my camera to focus. There you go. They didn't really have a good time. Can you see? These bigger roots seem to be much better, but they still have those dots. The tiny roots though, no, they actually look like they have been desiccated. It looks different than root tip burn or salt burn or things of the sorts. That, I do have experience with that as well. It looks like desiccation, can you see? So that's why I want to remove the ceramis. And this pot is super heavy because of the rocks, but yeah, mainly we have a rock medium here and a little bit of sphagnum moss here and there. Not enough to actually determine very low pH levels. At least this is what I believe. And if we are to think a little bit about it, even if these orchids do grow on rocks, you cannot really control grasses and mosses and all other organic debris that just happen to grow or be present on the rocks as well. So I'm thinking the conditions inside the pot are not super far-fetched, not super distant from what these orchids might actually encounter naturally. Alrighty, so I'm gonna go ahead and do the other orchid as well and come back with the organic half of the project. So I'm done with the rocky medium side. We're gonna look at them at the end. Now let's pot this Laelia in my typical organic mixture. I chose this one because it's the sickest looking one. I received it without any type of root. Currently she's producing one single root. So I want a medium which will be very friendly to the root. At this point, I'm not interested in performance. I'm interested in this orchid just surviving. So if it turns out they don't really perform all that well in organic medium, I can always transfer it. But first of all, I want it to live. So as always, a little moss at the bottom, and then I shall layer bark medium and moss as I go. And there we go. Easy peasy. Took me 2 minutes. Since the orchid is not tall and not top heavy, there's no point in me trying to stabilize it. It is pretty stable. Can you see this? So what I want to do is bother it as less as possible. I want that little root to continue to grow. And I think we're all done with this one. I will continue to pot the other Laelias and come back with the finished result and a few more ideas. Alrighty then, so my orchids are all done. As I was saying, half of them are in the rocky medium and half in my traditional organic medium. So as you can see, I used mainly rocks here and just a little bit of sphagnum moss. Without the sphagnum moss, I bet I would have had a lot of issues watering, so it will help out a great deal, but definitely my typical mixture has a lot more moss than this. And the other Laelias are potted in my traditional bark and sphagnum moss. You will have more details in the description about the pots, the medium, and all of those things that I use. You'll always have these details in the description if you're interested. So in this mixture, we do have more moss. And the main difference between these two mixes is the pH, I assume. Bark contains a lot of tannins. It will acidify the medium or environment overall. Moss is naturally slightly acidic, so here I do believe we're gonna have a lower pH than here. But so far, that's the main difference that I see between these mixes. Sure, there will be differences in water retention, but I can fix that if I so desire. It's something I can maintain relatively equal in both sides. Air quantity is relatively the same as well. You can see the rocky medium has a lot of air pockets. Things are not compacted, the rocks cannot really compact or suffocate anything, even with the addition of a little bit of moss. And other details really I don't think matter. The biggest difference is the chemical difference between them, in my opinion. So we'll see if that actually makes any difference or not. Hey, little side note, I actually decided to make a test after I finished filming that video, so I'll insert it here. I want to measure the pH, at least initially, although the pH in time will be of more interest. But initially, I want to see if this pot is actually not as acidic as this pot, so I left both of these... Hey, Maya, I'm filming. She saw a spider. So I left both of these pots to soak in my reverse osmosis water, which is pretty neutral pH-wise. It's been about 10 minutes and I want to see if there's any difference in reading. So let's take a reading. First, in the rocky medium. So in the rocky medium, we have a pH of about 6.8, as you guys can see. And now let's measure the organic medium. These things take a while to get an accurate reading. Usually you have to mix it for about 30 seconds. Okay, so in this setup, apparently the water has a 6.4 pH, which is just slightly lower. Now, this is only after about 10 minutes of soaking, and if you can imagine, the water that will remain in the medium will actually have much more time to adjust to the pH of the medium. So I am expecting in this pot to overall and in time have a higher pH than in this pot. In time, this medium will become more and more acidic, this one not so much. That's what happens to organic media. As they degrade and break down, they become more and more acidic. This is one thing that makes them inadequate for orchids after a while. With an organic medium, this doesn't happen, obviously. Rocks do not break down, they're not organic. So in the end, I guess that's why we're testing here the sensitivity to breaking down media or very acidic media. And before I let you go, I just wanted to end with an idea that I mentioned in the past as well, but maybe this year I can make it a little bit more central in my videos, maybe. And the idea is that correlation does not mean causation. So many times I get comments from you guys saying, well, this very reputable grower, expert, whatever, does things this way, hence this is the best way of doing things, or uses these products, hence these products are the best things to use, which is absolutely not true. Yes, somebody might use rocks, but the rocks themselves are not the key to success. It's the whole picture, it's the environment, it's the skill of the grower to actually maintain a good environment for the orchids with the utensils he has, right? So think about all of these details, all of the components of your setup as tools that you need to use. And sure, there are products which are better on the market than others, but really, at the end of the day, it's about how you use them. Some products will indeed make your life a little easier, but it doesn't mean that they are the only things that make orchid growing successful. So really, the point of this experiment is to discover why exactly people believe that this setup will be better than this setup. because maybe the setup is not comfortable for everybody. And maybe people are thinking, oh, I don't want to grow my orchids in rocks, so I'm just not going to buy these orchids because they're going to die on me, which might absolutely not be true. And by finding the real reason why something happens, then maybe we can actually eliminate these false conclusions, probably, and in the end really just make orchid growing more accessible for everybody. So bottom line, I really hope you guys will not stumble on this idea that, hey, if this person does things like this, then no other way will work. There's no point in me even trying. No, that's absolutely false. At least this is my opinion, and that's what I stand for on my channel. But you know what? I might be proven wrong. Only time will tell. Good news is I will definitely keep you up to date, and we'll see exactly how my orchids will perform and will evolve, and hopefully find some answers which will help everybody. With that said, it's time to end. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this video. You know the drill. Like, dislike this video below. Subscribe to my channel for more orchid videos and experiments and tutorials. We have some great tutorials this year as well. I have them already lined up. And of course, if you guys have ideas for other experiments or things to try out, then let me know in a comment down below, and maybe we'll just do them. So with that said, I'll see you next time. Bye!